As a major research institution, Arizona State University offers the most online bachelor's degree programs, along with world-class faculty and dedicated support. Discover why ASU is ranked #1 in innovation for 9 consecutive years. Tap to learn more.
What's up? Jason Tatum here. Ball up wherever you are with NBA 2K Mobile. Playing game events to collect NBA legends and rising stars to assemble your dream team and settle things on the court. Download NBA 2K Mobile now on the App Store and Google Play.
A Swift Kick in the Ass, episode 161. Life is challenging and difficult. No one gets out alive. Time to suck it up, Buttercup. Get ready for a monster-sized boot, aimed to help you get traction on personal change and get living. I am John Curran, your host. Join me as I share my journey, exploring the forces that motivate us to change and help us get through whatever life throws at us. A swift kick in the ass. Life on your terms. Welcome to another episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass. This is your host, John Curran. Today's episode is also available on YouTube, and today's topic is Bag of Bones with Patrick Taft. Hope you enjoy it. All right, this is John Curran. I am here with Patrick Taft, the main lead character in the latest suspense horror movie, Bag of Lies. Plus,
maybe, yeah.
Plus, he's my cousin.
I call it a co-star, but yeah. Thanks for the introduction.
Plus, he's my cousin, so I need to, ramp him up. No, I am so happy that we're doing this, Patrick. So thank you for joining. And a swift kick in the ass is really about creating positive change in your life. So my interviewing an actor who's also, family, but interviewing an actor about his latest movie, it's kind of interesting. So this movie is, and I guess we'll just go into it as to why I'm doing this, as we move along. But so the movie is called Bag of Lies, and it stars Patrick as a devoted husband whose wife has a incurable disease, and he takes steps. I guess he's exhausted. They've exhausted all the other possibilities, and now they're facing death. Mm-hmm. So you kind of take things into your own hands with that, right?
Yeah, he goes. He decides to. He goes the supernatural route. Yeah, it's very much about we sort of put two things together. You've got one thing that is incredibly real that so many families people have either dealt with themselves or at least within their family, which is cancer. Unfortunately, it's everywhere and it's not getting better. But then we've also got this other side, which is like add this sort of supernatural element, which is that if you could, in a world where you can kind of basically say no to cancer, if you really want to, would you?
Yeah.
And it's as opposed, it's not just modern medicine. Like you've got this supernatural remedy. There's no way to.
Are you going to do it? That's the real question, right?
And of course, is it the right thing to do? Because he hides what he's doing from his wife.
Yeah.
And she's the one who obviously the major consequences of this fall on. She's like resigned to, smoking weed when she feels like it and enjoying her probably last month or two on Earth. And he's like, no, I get to make this decision. But at the same time, but I've seen a lot of people online talking about, the frustration with that. But that's kind of the point of the movie. It's like, are you willing to say you would do differently if that option was there, is kind of what it's about.
Yeah, no, I think it's extremely relevant, really. I faced a similar issue, not with the supernatural bit, but with my dad. He he had ALS, and that's a horrible disease. Now,
Yeah.
the type he had actually stole his voice from him. It took away his ability to control his throat, so he could not eat or drink anything. Like, imagine if water would choke you. Um,
Whoa,
I mean,
I'm
you
sorry, man.
can't swallow. You can't swallow. Um,
That's
so
so extreme. I had never heard of. I know about ALS. I had never heard of that possibility.
yeah, so for my dad, who's a lot like me, likes to talk, that was pure hell, just being locked inside of his, locked inside of his mind. But he took extreme measures. He got a feeding tube,
Mhm.
and that kept him around for at least another year or such. But I always think back, it was that the right thing to do. It was
Mhm.
right for the family, uh, because we got to, enjoy him for a little bit longer. But it was pure hell, but
Right.
again, it was his decision. So, you know,
Yeah, and that obviously is the difference. It's but it's very yeah, man. There's always obviously there's sort of a gray area in there, and people are I think I could be wrong about this, but I think I know suicide used to be outlawed in general, and I think even assisted suicide was outlawed. Am I wrong about that?
yeah,
Until the
yeah,
last,
I think so. Yeah.
yeah, I don't
It's
know, maybe the last
available
couple
in
of
certain
decades.
states now.
Right. Yeah. And so it's something that's so hard to talk about. People just don't want to. We'd all just rather pretend like that's not there, and we just sort of go about our days forgetting about. It's like you're not going to be on this earth one day, and you don't really control when that time is. But we're a curious species, and we like to think that we don't have to necessarily play by the rules, because sometimes we're smart enough to sort of wiggle our way out of,
Yeah.
I guess, nature's consequences. Certainly for not only the comforts that we have, but like vaccines and all these modern. Um, but obviously, there's a line, and and it's when you blur that, there's no.
Yeah.
It's a complicated, difficult conversation. I think with Matt, it's pretty clear that what he did was wrong with my character.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, the question at the end of the day is, hey, you really love your partner, and you've got this option. Are you really willing to? Would you really? It's one thing to say, oh, of course, I wouldn't do
Yeah.
that. I wouldn't. No, but it's to think about it. Hopefully, after you watch this movie, sort of put yourself in that chair and be like, would I really do differently in that situation? And I
Yeah.
think
Because
it's
most
yeah,
people go into it thinking, oh, yeah, I'd absolutely do anything, right, to
right.
keep my loved one around.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, it's very yeah. So we kind of tried to. Um, it's really kind of it's really a drama with horror elements,
yeah.
kind of, or is how we sort of described it. And that works for some people. It doesn't work for others. In the modern era, there's a lot of genre bending sort of in general going on, even with like short form stuff on the internet that will start out, um, basically as an absurd sketch. You think
Yeah.
it's a couple people dating, and then devolve into like some kind of crazy armed robbery where the dude is like some kind of felon. And I've seen people bend genres in ways that is new and unique. And film's been around for so long now. It's hard to tell new stories, and you have to
Yeah.
color outside the lines a little bit sometimes, in the best way that you can.
Yeah. I always feel like, every word's been said before. So,
Hmm.
hearing a story in a different way is definitely challenging. And what I loved about Bag of Lies is it does really it was real. It was very well done, I thought. It kept me it kept me in suspense. And I'm not I don't like the horror genre. But I've watched a few, and I don't mind it or anything like that, but it's
Right.
not my thing. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It kept me on the edge of my seat, and takes you through some twists and turns that you might not expect. But
Right.
it's very real, I think.
Well, we kind of, yeah, as far as the tension goes, David James, the writer director, I think he did a really good job writing a script. Kind of kind of similar to what Signs does. I don't know if you've seen that. The Shyamalan movie with about the aliens from 2002.
No, I have not seen that, but I
Yeah,
love.
well, it's about aliens coming to Earth, but it balances these two possibilities that it could be a hoax up until like 2/3 through the movie, because they're doing these elaborate signs in the corn, and you're trying to figure out, is this really aliens, or is this is this
Mhm.
a cult trying to, the balance of that to like 2/3 through the movies, you can't really figure out which way it's going to go. What we tried to do here was, Matt has got a history of psychosis. He's got some mental health issues that we don't really dive into, but he's hallucinated and had some breaks from reality before. Um, and so we kind of tried to balance those possibilities. Is there some sinister entity going on
Yeah.
here? Or is this dude under crazy stress and losing his mind? And those are fun to do as an actor, because it's hard to balance that line of when you're not only are you seeing things, which is one thing to sort of react like that as an actor, but you've seen things before, and this is an issue that you've dealt with. So you're trying
Mhm.
to like, I'm trying to show you, I'm freaked out. This is scary, but I've had these things before. This is something I deal with. Sort of, I would imagine, maybe similar to sort of, this is obviously me speaking just just as a guess, but I would imagine maybe someone with schizophrenia might not, depending on how you're medicated, might be able to handle hearing voices,
Mhm.
or you know what I mean. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's a tough. It was just a really
But
fun challenge, and it was exhilarating. Yeah.
and honestly, I mean, I kind of wonder sometimes if maybe their brains just aren't built a little bit differently than ours, that allow them to actually reach a frequency or something that we can't. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
the
Especially now,
psychosis
like,
is
yeah, we
it's
call it
very
psychosis.
interesting.
But a lot of these, there's a lot of people out there that we certainly used to just deem as crazy. That in reality, they're. I think they're kind of. I don't really think nature
Yeah,
necessarily makes mistakes in those ways. I think brains, yeah, work on different frequencies, and they're able
yeah.
to tune to different
It
things. And it's a fascinating era that we're in, because just history and technology and medicine is just getting to the point where all these discoveries are. And this is very much speaking in a layman's terms. I'm not a quantum physicist by any means, but just from what
but
I
you play
read,
one.
yeah, I would pretend to be one, yeah. But it's just, there's so many things that are so unexplainable in the ways that, like, and talking about how atoms can interact in ways that, like, and I know one thing that I remember reading, that the by viewing something, you change it. So something to do with photons. It's like by having a set of eyes on something, it changes something about its fundamental nature that can be measured by science. And that's a very layman's term. I can't go any deeper. So someone's written,
Just
someone
because it's
smarter.
observed, right?
Yeah, observing changes something physical about it. That's as deep as I can go.
Yeah.
So someone out there smarter than me has written about it that you can read, but it's there's just so much. It's so much deeper that's going on. That's another tangent,
Yeah.
but
You know,
it's a fascinating time to be alive. Yeah.
reality is sometimes stranger than fiction.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
I think, but yeah, it's very, it's very interesting. And plus, during this time, we have a lot of crazy people that sound really sane.
Hmm.
So we also have to be very careful about that. I think everyone's really on on their toes. Uh, and I think that's good. Like watching a suspense movie.
Hmm.
You know, it's suspenseful. It keeps you on the edge of your seat and keeps you guessing, but it takes you into a different world and kind of transports you away from, you know, your day-to-day troubles, which is the whole point of watching a movie. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and
I mean, that's our job. That's what we hope we can do, is to be privileged enough to just for an hour and a half or 2 hours, just help you zone into another world. But also hopefully take something with you that you can ponder,
yeah, yeah.
and, that hits home in some way, so that I think, to make a good movie, I think every good movie should change you just a little bit. Just like every good book you read, or, you come away just a little bit different, a little bit smarter, a little bit,
Yeah.
spend a little bit more time in introspection. Then it's really all you can ask
See,
for art.
and now hopefully the listeners and the viewers now are actually, you know, seeing a connection now, because that's what, you know, Swift Kick in the Ass is all about. It's about living on your terms. And, you know, what does that mean? It means, you know, taking those chances, having those experiences, kind of pushing the boundaries of what you feel comfortable with, and and trying to make something out of it. You know, and
I think, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, go ahead.
Oh, well, I just think, as far as like the comfort zone stuff, what I realize is that you can get to the point to where your only real comfort zone is discomfort. You have to be doing that, or else you kind of start to atrophy body and mind, and you get more tense. Like, the more, yeah, like, as I, I had to obviously leave home and move out to LA, and I'm in these new acting,
Yeah.
I'm in acting classes opposite veteran actors that I've been watching on TV for 15 years, and now those people are friends of mine. And that there's an intimidating factor there, but it's also so fulfilling to, just be a part of it, regardless of if I
Yeah.
become some kind of superstar someday. What's cool about it, and I think how you know if it's right for you, is if you really love that scary grind and you love being part of it, being in the trenches with a cast and crew and with other actors. Everyone's working 12 to 14-hour days. They're exhausted. A lot of really smart people that could have been engineers, could have been accountants, could have been lawyers. But they're there because they've got that same what a lot of
Yeah.
people would call crazy. That same, maybe a screw loose, that makes them want to make movies, because it's just the coolest
We
thing, I think,
we
in the
call it
world.
personality in my family.
Right? Yeah, whole personality.
No, I know, but
Fun to hear.
there is passion, and that's really, I think that makes life so much, you know, so much better. You know, from my own experience, um, you know, I've talked to you about this boat that I'm been
Hmm.
working on. It's called Perseverance.
Right.
That's what I named the boat, because I've just been working on her and working on her, working on her. And I've learned so much about the boat, and I've got it now to a point to where I could turn her over with the key and just she starts right up, runs beautifully. But the latest is that she developed an oil leak, and I might have to pull the entire motor. I haven't even been able to take the boat out on the water
Oh
yet.
man, didn't you say you had, like, it took years to get that motor in? You had like a
Oh
professional?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I had a professional guy, but he really didn't do, you know, what he said he was going to do.
Okay.
You know, I think he just did the bare minimum to get it running and get it in.
Frustrating.
But it is frustrating, you know, but what I've learned from it is that I think a lot of times we try to buy our way out of problems. That I know that I personally do, and I was trying to buy my way out of a problem. But what I'm learning is that you know, life is telling me I can't get away from this problem. I have to learn. Now, pulling the motor, I've pulled motors before. It's putting it back in and getting it, you know, all set. That to me is the hard part. But I'm going to do it because I don't really have a choice. And I don't feel like I've been expecting people to save me, and you can't do that. You become dependent on other people. It becomes
Mhm.
a very dependent mindset. Uh, it's really taught me that no one's coming to save me, and I have to figure this out for myself. And I do. And each time I win a little challenge, I celebrate, and then another challenge pops up,
Mhm.
and I have to learn some more. But isn't that what life is all
Right.
about, right? It's like I think we fool ourselves to think that the challenges will never end. I mean, that
And
they will end. The challenges
that's a
will
great
end.
quote about, yeah, no one's coming to save you. Because I remember, I don't know if I necessarily had that conscious thought, but yeah, in sort of my mid to late 20s, that really hit me that it's like, have I kind of been shuffling off responsibility for the fact that I'm not working as hard as I could be? Have I kind of been like, there's got to be someone out there to blame because it feels so much better? But when you sort of realize, yeah, it's like your parents can't save you. No one, your any kind of mentor you have can't really save you. They can guide you and you can learn from them, but they cannot do it for you. And
Yeah.
if there's one thing, if I ever do have children, that would be one thing that I sort of hope to instill in them. It's like, hey, I'm gonna teach you my values and guide you as best you can, but it's gonna have to hit you at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, that the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
Um, that's a
That's
tough
the
pill for a lot of people to swallow. A lot of people never swallow that pill.
Yeah, I think I agree. Most
Mhm.
people are just complacent and just think, "Oh, okay, that this is the way my life is." And they don't really ever push. Oh, I thought I lost connection there. They don't ever really push themselves um, to know any different. They just say, "Okay,
Well, and there's
that's the
always
way."
that safety net of if you never try, you can always sort of hide in that world of I didn't try, so you can't really tell me I would have failed.
Yeah,
Because like, hey man, I never tried to be in the NBA, so who knows? Maybe I could practice for a few weeks and go out and beat Steph Curry.
I'm only 4'8".
Right? Yeah. Who you can't
But
tell me you can't because I didn't try. You can't tell me that it wouldn't happen, and you
see,
can just
that's why I
leave.
love
Yeah.
this is one of the reasons why I love the Bag of Lies too, because I think that each of us probably we have the potential to carry with us a huge bag of lies. And
Mhm.
what I mean is that living like carrying around things that we actually really believe are true, that creates an altered reality for yourself that that you live in, and you accept that to be true. And
It's scary, how much can go on subconsciously that you can be
yeah,
unaware of what your
and
brain is doing to you. And that's hard. You got to sit with that. I know you're talking about meditation. Like that was a big change for me too, was sitting with, oh man, my mind is playing tricks on me because I like the way it makes me feel in the short term. And that's what's stopping me from making changes of where I want to go. Like that's, like I said, tough pill to swallow.
for me, it all boiled down to making a decision because I realized I said this has to end. I can't my whole world felt like it was crashing in at me, crashing in on me at once. Everything was changing. I was losing my best friend to brain cancer. My marriage wasn't at the great time in its life, and work it was not doing well. Everything was suffering. I was in pain because I've been dealing with chronic inflammation and stress. Stress from work also does that. But it put blinders on me, and I literally felt just beat and battered down into the ground. And something had to give. And that's when I decided, you know what, something has to give, and I'm not going to let this happen anymore. And that changed it all for me. And that's when I started really thinking about my life and about what I wanted to do as compared to what I was doing. And I was doing a lot of talking and I wasn't doing a lot of doing.
It's a whole lot easier to talk, but you had a lot of external things going on regardless that you couldn't influence. So it's good. It's not always easy to come to that conclusion of, I got all these things around me that are going bad. So, some of them I'm sure are my fault. Some of them aren't, but
yeah,
coming to that, making that distinction of like, because it's not as though victimhood doesn't exist. Like, of course, victimhood is real. I think the best quote I heard was, I don't know if you know who Mark Manson is, but that was the shift in reading his book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's just it's really kind of a modern adaptation of Stoic philosophy. Like a lot of, he quotes Marcus Aurelius a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. For instance, if your parents abused you, you're going to be way more likely to abuse your kids, and you're in a really tough situation that's unfair because you got to go out in the world and do the tough work to heal, find the people that can do it. But it is your responsibility to not be an abusive parent. Still, even though you were set up in these ways, so it's very you can obviously have sympathy for those people, but at the same time, like, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. It's like, okay, it's like, this is another tough pill to swallow, but it's never life.
But that really is life, right?
Right. And I guess life is. I've heard another one, but what makes life fair is that it's unfair for everyone, which is, I guess, an interesting sort of even the kid with I guess the richest parents with the healthiest mindset may grow up and just not face nearly enough adversity or reasonable criticism to grow into the kind of adult that can really take on the world and be a decent, empathetic human being. And that's a tough situation too, because how would you say, if I didn't get any of these life lessons, if I didn't have to work at Taco Bell at 16 and go to public school and maybe get my ass handed to me and in like a fight or two because I ran my mouth too much. Like, if I didn't have any of those experiences.
Oh, we're definitely family.
Yeah. And, because it's so easy to say, you stupid rich kids, like, what an easy life. But it's like, do you really envy, not having to face all of those hurdles? And then, you get on the world as a 19, 20, 21-year-old.
Yeah.
You probably don't. You're probably pretty delusional and not really, obviously not trying to put all rich people in the same bucket, but I think kind of generally what I'm talking about.
I know people who have money, who have raised their children, and their children really have a high value of money and have done very well for themselves and been responsible. And then I know other parents who have just given everything to their children and still do as adult children. In fact, I can think of some that still live at home, fail with the failure to launch.
Failure to launch. Yeah, it's very real now. Oh yeah. I think we're upwards of, like, I don't know, the data that, like, all this data, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, things are flipping on its head. But I think with my generation, I think there's a solid third of us that are still living at home into their 30s.
So that's why I think I see you as exceptional. I mean, not only because you're my family, but because you took that step. And I like to talk.
Basement, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about that, though. Is you took that step. You took a leap of faith moving out to LA, and it's expensive to live in LA. You're just trying to get your foot in the door and establish yourself, and it's tough. So I know you're working a day job, and you take take acting very seriously, and you have to take a job that, allows you to leave for auditions and things like that. So you make a lot of sacrifices, but what was that kick in the ass that told you, man, I got to do this?
Man, I got to get out there. It was, Well, I was living in Cincinnati, and I kind of in and around Cincinnati, and I just saw that I wasn't going to be able to. There really is a film industry there that's really started to take root, but what wasn't, sorry, excuse me, a little bit of mucus. But what I couldn't really find was great training. And I realized, like, if I want to get better, I need a great teacher. And I also need to be opposite actors that are better than me. And you can, when you go to the major hubs like LA and New York, like, those are the best actors in the world. Like, you better get over yourself and recognize that you're going to get shown up in class often. And I kind of knew, I guess I don't necessarily know that I was really scared. I went to 3 different middle schools because, so that was a tough, I got shuffled around a lot in early formative years, and I got really good at not really being afraid of that and kind of liking, all right, I was around these people for 6 months or a year, and now I'm shuffling to go somewhere else. And you can kind of reinvent yourself and, like,
Yeah.
what did I learn last time? And the curiosity of what it would build me into and what I could possibly become by putting myself in to the toughest environment far outweighed the fear. And it's been pretty exhilarating. Like, it's definitely some rough days. And right now the industry is not in a great spot, but
that's very interesting. So you had 3 schools. I only had 2, but I went to 6th and 7th grade outside of my district because my parents thought that it was a better school. And the fact of the matter was, it was a freaking tough school. I mean,
really?
it was just like a movie scene in 6th grade. Just imagine little 5 foot, 5 foot me, or maybe I was like 4'8", really. But
I was about 11 at that age. Yeah.
I had big construction boots. I mean, I had size 12 feet, I think, but I had huge feet, and I got construction boots because I wanted to look tough. I insisted, but as I'm walking down the hall in between class, just, going to class, opposite coming my way is the bully. And as he's walking by me, his fist went right into my stomach. So I walked into it, and he was walking into me too. So I took like this huge hit to my stomach, and I'm like, got my book bag, and I'm like leaning over, going through this crowded hallway, and people are running around. It was just like a movie scene. It was so funny, but I mean, now it was so funny. Back then it
Right.
was
Yeah.
dead serious. I mean, you didn't want to go to the bathroom,
Oh, yeah.
because you'd get bullied, or, I mean, there was blood in there. But, I went to a different 8th grade school. That was the one I was supposed to go to. And you hit upon that, that point that it kind of made you into who you are, because you lost that fear of being the new kid.
Yeah. I think I kind of carried that with me into my life in general. And there's good and bad parts of it. I'm kind of built, and as far as the film industry goes, this is good, but I'm kind of built to, I like being around. What I love about movies is that you're around certain people for a month or 2, and then it's over. And then you might see them again in a couple of years. You might go, you're flying to, you're going to different cities to film, and you're sort of always changing that up. And the one thing, even as a kid, before middle school, before all the moves, even as a kid, I just couldn't imagine. I was like, oh man, 40, 50 years going to the same office, seeing the same people with the same routine. I'm going to lose my mind. I just cannot have a job like that. It's not how my brain is wired. And like I said, there's 2 sides to it. There's I went to high school in Ashland, Kentucky. As a kid, I was in Huntington, West Virginia, but I moved over to Ashland, Kentucky, just across the river when I was 11 or 12. And it was, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Moved to Ashland, Kentucky, what was I talking about? With just even as a kid, just like having the same environment was just something that I knew in no world could ever be for me. So I think that was the point to make.
No, that's cool. I also too, I'll have that bug. I mean, I like to travel.
Right.
And that's one thing I've been kicking myself of doing. And that too has been a great motivator. So when my dad died, that's what actually kicked off this entire podcast with my friend Tom. Is I spent the last week of my dad's life in a hospice room with my dad as he was dying. It gave me a lot of time to think. Gave me a lot of opportunity to make peace with my dad, and I wanted to be there for him. But so when I came back, obviously you sleep in a room. He didn't want the light turned off. So I'm in this like lit room 24 hours a day. I could barely sleep for a week. Get home, I'm just wrecked mentally. And I sit down at my computer and I start writing things out about what my dad taught me, because he meant a lot to me. And he meant a lot actually to my friends who learned a lot from my dad about how to be a man, really. My dad was a good guy, but I learned what not to do from him as well. So
right.
talk about that. But it's and now I've lost my train of thought. Not sure where I was going with that. But
that's all. Yeah, it can be.
Isn't that the way life is?
But I was thinking about like sort of surrogate fathers. That's kind of part of your parents are just, and I think we used to be sort of more like that, sort of a tribal. They say it takes a village to raise a kid.
Mm-hmm.
When I think it's impossible for one man or a woman or a person to sort of teach a kid everything they could possibly know. You also need mentors, and I went out and
experience.
My parents were smart, successful people. They were good parents, but I also had those desires to, and are good parents. But I had those desires to go out still and sort of study other families, because obviously we weren't perfect. And I learned a lot from watching other mothers and fathers and their relationships. And I think that's kind of a natural instinct that we used to have when we were sort of more kind of tribal, when people spent a lot more time outside their homes. And this last decade is scary for these kids, man. I've worked in the school system, and they're not getting out, and they're not bumping their knees on scooters and just
they have any type of information they want,
right? All the information they want at their fingertips, and they're just, for the most part, they're chilling in their basements.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, at least 30 years ago, like video games, you used to have to come together to play a PlayStation or a Nintendo or whatever. But now it's all the internet. You can never interact with anyone ever if you want to.
Well, also with like virtual reality, I know my son has, my 13-year-old son has the virtual reality goggles, and he plays with his friends. So they're at their houses.
Right.
So you could, I guess, in theory, do that with anyone from around the world.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, I didn't have that technology growing up. I
didn't really either. So, I guess that sort of kind of came over when I was in middle high school. I guess is when that really started to take over, like the Call of Duty, just playing with people all around the world. But I remember my friend got banned on Xbox because he was arguing with some 12-year-old in the UK, and he just said, "Shut up! I'm gonna kill your queen." They banned him on Xbox for a month because it's a threat, obviously. And he threatened that 12-year-old child.
That's so
Which is
funny.
just,
Yeah,
it's so funny, yeah.
yeah, things have definitely changed, but
Oh yeah, man.
they're going to continue to change. And the one thing I would like to change, I have a corporate job, and I'm getting to an age to where I'm just gonna start thinking about retirement, kind of gearing down. But I've got three kids. The one just got out of college, and then other one's just went into college, and the other one, he's coming up with a plan to rule the world, I think, at 13.
Okay.
At
All right.
13.
Hopefully none of them are crazy enough to be artists. They want to go get real jobs.
Well,
Or I guess
my
some couple of them already out, but
my daughter Anna is at Randolph-Macon College. She's in the
said she
show
was a
choir.
psychologist. Was that right? Or
Yeah,
in that role?
she wants to
Okay.
be a psychologist, and
Okay.
she's in the show choir there,
Okay.
which is, singing and dancing. But she has the acting bug. She did in high school, and she was great. She did the what is it, second grade or third grade spelling bee?
Okay.
I don't know if you saw it. It was a Broadway play, I think. But
Oh,
they had the fish. They had a fish. They were the piranhas, I think, and they had the mascot was this fish, and they had this kid in this costume that was just hilarious. Uh, but my daughter had the lead in that, and she was just brilliant, I thought.
oh,
But
that's awesome.
and then my wife, when I met her, she was an aspiring actress, but she once we had kids, she kind of gave up the community theater. It is really tough. You have to give up a lot, and
Yeah, you got to
yes,
give up most of the sort of, I guess, what people would call the mainstays of sort of normal life, or at least that's not really true. You have to be willing to certainly push it back because it takes a solid, I've been hitting this pretty hard since my early 20s, and I'm just now starting to star in movies that people are actually seeing. Um, and I'm still not anywhere, I have never even played a supporting role in like a major studio movie. It's really all this. Thankfully, the independent film world's really coming up, and you can really get your movies seen now around the world because the international market especially is really good for American movies. But obviously, the problem is that it's next to impossible to make good money doing it. And if you've got mouths to feed, which I
yeah,
couldn't, I could imagine having a kid right now because my life would definitely look very different. I would imagine that I would be in finance, which is, I have a finance minor, so I studied some finance in college. I imagine I'd probably go back to school and end up behind a desk somewhere, but
I have an
it's,
MBA
yeah, again, I'd probably have to get an MBA.
with my three
It's just,
kids.
yeah, kind of everybody, both men and women
But
are
it
actually
was a
pushing
different,
back.
that was a different time. And when I went to school to learn how to learn. I didn't really, I actually bounced around my majors. I ended up with my bachelor's degree. I'm a health science education major. So I actually have a teaching degree for my bachelor's degree. And I really went after that because I wanted to learn about myself. And I had to take anatomy and physiology and emotional health. And, in college, I had to take sexual health. So
Mhm.
that was a great class
Really?
to take. Uh,
But that's, yeah, I don't think they teach us.
oh,
I
you
don't think
need
you
to
can
take
think like
some,
that.
if you better protect yourself. That's what my mom
Right,
told me.
yeah. Especially these days. Yeah, you don't want to too
But
much out there going around.
don't jeopardize your acting career.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah. No, you're right, man.
But
Gotta.
that is some of the sacrifice that you have to make in order to get ahead and and pursue your dreams. And no, honestly, not everyone is cut out to have children. Not everyone has to have children. Um, for
Yeah,
a
it's
while, I
something
didn't
that
think I was. I married late in life. Um, how old was I? 32,
oh, okay. I mean,
I
yeah,
think.
I'm 31, but that's definitely considered uh that I guess
That's
definitely
prime,
considered
man.
pretty a few decades ago, but everyone's kind of put, like I said, everyone's kind of pushing everything back. I think maybe being in LA, which is the land of extended adolescence, maybe it's a little more normal here. But yeah, my friends are like, dude, 30s are the new 20s.
Yeah.
Just really work on you, have a really good career, do some traveling, build up some wealth if you can. And then, I would be shocked if I get married younger than 35, And I would
Yeah.
I like the idea of getting married and having kids under 40. I like the idea of that, but it's not something that's got to be in the unit. That's got to be in the stars. That's got to be my career's got to be in the right spot. I got to meet the right woman,
So
and
for men,
obviously
that's
she needs to be on the right page. And men have a little more
yeah.
time, right?
Men have time. It's women that don't. But
Hmm.
my wife is 13 years younger than I am. So
Okay.
so for me, it works because mentally I'm much younger
Right.
than
Yeah.
my age. So it kind of works, and mentally she's older. So it kind of worked out.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
would have
It
never
worked out
imagined
that way.
it. And when lightning strikes, it doesn't really matter. None of all these plans and everything, it doesn't matter. Because and really it shouldn't, because if you really fall in love with the right person, they're going to support you and support your passion and your dreams, and be by your side for that. They're not going to live that for you. No one can live that for you, but they will be there with you, and be there with you. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all. Yeah. I've heard that a million times. You just can't
Can't
plan for
can't really
anything. You
force
can
it, but
try. It's nice to write it down and have some goals, but it's at
in
the
the
end of the day,
moment,
yeah, it's in the moment. You got to sort of flow with the punches, and that's been yeah, that's something I definitely have struggled with plenty. It's just trying to reach out and control it. And what's interesting about being an actor is you have to, in the improv classes and in classes, you can come in with these ideas and these choices that you're making, but as you get into rehearsal, you have to listen to the person. You have to really be focused on the person in front of you and what they're giving you, and make sure you're responding to that. Because if not, you're really insular and locked in to yourself. You're not really present or listening. You're not going to be interesting to watch. And that's
yeah.
sort of an egotistical way to do it. And it took me a long time to relax into that. I had to come out here. I take a class with a teacher named Adam Harrington. I just talked about before, and it's Meisner based, so you have to go up and face one another in front of the class and start speaking truth, just repetitively. So you might say, "You look tense. I look tense. You look tense. You look tense." That made me. Now I'm embarrassed because you noticed I look tense, embarrassed, embarrassed, and then it's just like, oh, I feel weird, I feel uncomfortable. Or oh, you might say something positive too. You might say, you seem powerful today. It's like powerful, powerful, and then you might say love, 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 and then you might say anger, and then sometimes it's I want to hit you in the face right now. You want to hit me in the face right now, and it can get very contentious and awkward and uncomfortable. But the point of the exercise is you gotta sit with whatever's coming up and speak it to so that you're aware of what's really going on and able to let it out, because you got to really do that on screen or on stage if you want people to connect with it. If you want people to be like, oh, I've got those kind of scary thoughts, I've got that kind of stuff in the back of my head sometimes too that I'm not comfortable speaking. Those are the speaking out or acknowledging to myself, those are the moments that
Okay.
people really connect with on stage and screen, I think.
So it's
And
the
so
truth coming out. Is
yeah,
what
it's
connecting
yeah,
to the truth.
it's the truth, and you can kind of, if you can do it as a human being and sort of speak all these things that we're kind of trained not to, you can kind of because acting is, what's so strange about it is, we sort of adore all these actors, but you've got to do these very often uncomfortable and embarrassing and strange scenes that reveal, our most human and sometimes darkest sides of ourselves that
Yeah.
we like to reject, that we like to pretend don't exist. And for me, like, I think a big subconscious sort of factor in what drew me to acting was a sort of recognition that I really wasn't able to be honest with myself in a lot of ways, wasn't really sort of in tune with, a darker side that everyone has. And you can't really reject that as a human being or as an actor. And so it really makes, it will, if you do it right and you stick with it, it will make you discover yourself in ways that I don't really think much else can. And that's kind of what, I think as a kid, what drew me to it was seeing the Death Star explode for the first time and wanting to be Luke Skywalker. So that was what drew me. I got drawn in for all those reasons. But what really got me to stay was realizing, like, oh, this is changing me as a person, not just as an artist.
It's so funny. Luke Skywalker.
Oh yeah, man.
Star Wars was huge in my day.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy Tommy, who I started the show with, was a huge Star Wars fanatic. So for you to bring that up just kind of makes his spirit come alive, I think.
It's awesome. Yeah, Star Wars is special, man. There's no imagination quite like George Lucas's. But that was, my aunt and uncle are great people and super supportive of the acting stuff, and always been great to me and my sister. And they showed me Star Wars. I think I probably would have been 4 or 5 in their beach house. So that was one of the first memories that I have. And the first movie that I saw in theaters was Phantom Menace. I was 5 when that hit theaters, and I went and saw that with my dad. It was either that or the Rugrats movie, but I'm pretty sure Phantom Menace came out first. So those are my first theatrical experiences. But those movies are special, man. Especially those older ones are just, there's really nothing quite like it. It speaks to so many generations, and it'll never die. And they'll keep making, Disney's making all these new shows and movies, and so some of them are good, some of them not so good. But I think the world he created is infinite, and there's so much to explore. Yeah, it'll just keep going forever.
Yeah, it's cool, and I love creating stories, and I think that's what really life is all about. It's about creating your own story. That's one of the things that really drives me getting my boat done is I want to go exploring. I want to take that boat out in the ocean, and I really need that boat to, be reliable. And also, no one's going to be there to save me when I'm out on the ocean. So I need to know how things work.
Right.
So, so for me, it's about learning.
Quite literally sink or swim, I guess.
Yeah. But also I've been playing guitar, been teaching myself how to play guitar now pretty seriously the last couple of years. And I still feel like a beginner in so many ways, but really it's just, that was one of those decisions that I made back when Tommy got sick, was to stop talking about it and do it. And now I'm starting to see how, we get these ideas in our head about something, and about the way things are. We get an idea in our heads, and that's the way it is, right? Until we start living it, and then we realize, well, it's not quite like that. And
right.
You actually, I think, takes on a different meaning, but also you start to realize there are different levels and there's depth to the subject that really you weren't considering before.
It always looks different from the outside, from just watching, and there's no really expert or master that can really get across to you what they mean when it's like, I know it seems like this, that's an illusion. You got to do it yourself and you'll see,
Yeah.
you know what I
And
mean?
yeah, and everyone learns so differently. And what I've learned, it's amazing when I'm practicing guitar and I take lessons as well for that. So I can see where you would want to take acting lessons, really improve your craft.
Mhm.
But one little thing the instructor will say, and something clicks, and
Yeah.
and it just changes, and it just takes you off in a whole nother direction. To me, that's passion, and it builds on itself, and it makes your life amazing and incredible, whether you're an actor or an MBA or someone else, a nurse, a fireman, whoever you are, mechanic. Uh, we all need that swift kick in the ass to kind
Right.
of get us on the road to living a more passionate life. Now, not everyone is, cut out for entrepreneurship, owning
Right.
their own business. Some people just want a 9 to 5 job where they clock in and clock out. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And
But
it doesn't have to be your bread and butter financially, your
yeah,
passion. That can be a
if
different, you can find other ways to push yourself. But I do think I think that's in our DNA as human beings. I think you really kind of have to honor that if you want to feel fulfilled and feel really good about yourself, that there's a part of you that needs to explore and be scared and fail
yeah,
and feel discomfort, and then also experience the growth and depth that's on the other side of all of that. I think that's in everyone's DNA. I think that's
yeah.
in our,
But when you
just
put your risk, that support, that, just the basic needs of life, food, shelter,
Mhm.
clothes, you really put yourself out at risk when it's hard to, you put yourself in a circumstance that you're totally unfamiliar with.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm talking a big game, but I'm not a nature guy at all, man. I'll go hiking once in a blue moon, but I would never go on like a multi-day excursion through the where you're climbing and swimming and bow. I've never. I would have to be with someone to ever
Bear
to do something
Grylls.
like that. Yeah, yeah. A pal, it's just like, yeah, you do everything. I'll take some pictures.
I actually I did an overnight trip on the Appalachian Trail with my buddy. I forget, I think it was 26 miles.
Okay,
I
that's
mean, we
a
did
it's
it
a
over.
marathon, right? It's a marathon, like.
I mean, we did it overnight, and I earned a hernia with my 50
Oh,
pound pack. So yeah, it was an experience.
oh
Glad
man.
I said I would do it. But now I want to explore like out on the Chesapeake Bay with my boat.
Okay.
There's a lot of little islands out there, and just I don't
And
know.
you also just never know, like, yeah, with your health. Like a buddy of mine went on like some kind of week long excursion, and they were boating, and he got COVID
Yeah,
on like the second day of it, so he's dealing with that along with his wet socks and sleeping outside. And I was just like, man, we made it inside for a reason, but good for you if if there's a
it,
if the world ever
yeah.
really goes to shit, you're gonna survive, and I'm not. So
You know, we're gonna survive everything until we don't.
right,
Whatever we put ourselves through. But I think that a lot of times we think we have a lot more time than we really do. And that's
yeah.
where people fall short is because they thought they had more time. Like I thought I was going to have more time with my dad. He was in great health. I'm in great health. I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop, right?
Yeah,
So,
unfortunately, that's part of it's kind of how our brains work, right? When things are too good, it's like something bad's got to happen.
yeah, so that's why I mean, but I find that recognizing that all this is temporary is motivating me. It's like I have nothing to lose to but to do these things and to challenge myself and to keep moving forward on this path that I choose. And it's I don't think I've ever really been happier in my life and been more myself because of all the changes that I've made. And I keep this show going, really just keep spreading the word, I think, that it's possible. I have a full life, I have family, job, but I need a creative outlet. And can't make a living out of it.
Yeah,
with
it's brutal.
it is brutal. But it's so worthwhile too. And I think if any of our listeners here learned anything or took, maybe they had an aha moment about what they should do with their life, and they start going off in some direction that brings more fulfillment to them. Man, not knowing that if that would ever happen, I just love the possibility of it.
Once you're on the other side of it, you almost can't imagine life without it. Once you've taken a risk and sort of grown and had experiences and built a better life, like, man, I lived in that other world for so long before I explored this.
You
and
just
now
kick yourself. You kick yourself sometimes.
Right.
I've had job loss before, and that sucked. But I made it through, and I came out better than before. And I'm not scared of job loss anymore because I know I handled it the first time. And if I have to do it again, I'll do it again. And I feel like that, it's a real confidence builder every time you go out there and try to do something new. And I was hoping from this interview that some of the listeners would really appreciate your insight as an actor, because you really make your living out of studying character and then bringing that to life, really. It is.
It's definitely, I definitely still get scared. Like I said, it's all to do, what's the phrase about, it's like being scared to death, but saddling up anyway. Like actors, we get very nervous.
Feel the fear, but do it anyway.
Yeah, feel the fear, but doing anyway. I definitely still get very nervous, and I was a very socially anxious kid. Actually, I would be very nervous, sort of ordering at McDonald's or being on the phone with people. I had a lot of social anxiety. Wanted to be. I had this bizarre side that was also could be very sort of like a performance where it would sort of bottle up and then come out. And I would do something ridiculous, say something ridiculous. But I kind of think that was another subconscious factor that drove me to this, was a way to sort of face that head on would be, not only are you here in this social situation, you're doing it on stage and you're letting people in a way that's even scarier than normal everyday life, kind of, and being seen in all your vulnerabilities. And it just sort of works in all, because even though and there's something about, playing being someone else, they can be very, very therapeutic, because it's like, someone else is writing this, and there's a very, it kind of reminds you that you're not alone in a lot of ways when you read something good and you get to be a part of it as an actor with everyone, and it's like we're all coming together. We're not just wearing polite smiles and masks going throughout our day. Let's all come together and talk about what the human experience actually is like, and how, and the great sides of it and the not so great sides of it. And that's, like I said, that's what kept me here. I would recommend, I think just about everyone could benefit from, like, just going out and taking an improv class or something.
Yeah.
Or sort of experiencing, because you can get lost behind the mask, I guess. God, I can't remember who said it. Like, I was embarrassed when I realized life was like a costume party or a mask party, and I showed up with my real face. Like, I wish I could remember who said that.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's like, I wish I knew. It's like I showed up to, like, no one told me life was a mask party. I showed up maskless, now I'm embarrassed. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I got to remember that. I
wish. Yeah, Google it. I can't remember who said it, but it was.
We'll find out who.
Yeah, it's such a brilliant quote. I love there are a lot of boring platitudes out there, but there are some quotes out there that are really masterful in the way that they hit you. My background on my phone is Marcus Aurelius. Love the hand fate deals you and play it as your own,
Yeah.
which is another one of my favorite ones. Because every time I see that, it's like, what am I mad about? This happened to me, and it didn't happen to Timmy or whatever's going on in there. You don't know their story, they don't know yours. You've got your BS, and like, just take a breath. What can you do to make the best out of it with the influence that you have?
You know, I am a very stoic thinker as well. And I have a stoic quote that I keep kind of, you can't see it, on a piece of paper at my desk. It says, it is your reaction to adversity, not the adversity itself, that determines how your life story will develop. That's Dieter F. Uchtdorf. I'm butchering. But yeah, it's your reaction to adversity, not the adversity itself, that determines how your life story will develop.
That reminds me of Viktor Frankl, who he wrote a book about the Holocaust. It's not Night, but it's the other one. Man's Search for Meaning. And he talks about, so it's all you've got is your reaction. The worst situation in the world, you still have one thing, and that's how you respond to it. No one can take that away from you. They can kill you, obviously. But no one can take away your ability to react. And that's kind of the one. But that's
there's a mental toughness, I think, you have to develop when you're on a path like this. And I know we should probably wrap it up.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much time. I think we're okay on time, but we should probably wrap it up. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about, as an actor, do you look at reviews?
I do. How
do you handle that? I mean, people say some awful things sometimes, right?
Oh yeah. It's I wish that I had the discipline to just never do it, but pretty much if I'm bored, I'll just Google it and see what people are saying. I actually thought it would be. This is my first time in something that more than maybe a few thousand people saw. This is my first time I'm in something that went around the world and actually people are talking about. And it's it found its audience. It's got its lovers and it's got its haters.
Yeah.
And that's just going to keep happening. Like the kind of movie that we made was for a certain kind of type of person that appreciates a certain type of thing, and those people are getting it. And then the other people are like, "Oh, it was boring," or like whatever, like not enough gore, stupid. It's just like, okay, like we didn't make this for you. You were always going to hate this. That's fine. And also like seeing people talk about my performance. Sometimes but once you see like something I did that someone else loved and thought made the movie better, something very specific, and then the very next person will be like, "This sucked," and it's like, was it right or wrong? Like, no, it was a choice, and it's going to hit home with some people and not with others.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm actually shocked kind of with my ability to keep that distance and keep that frame of mind to the point to where now it's kind of just entertaining. Like there are a lot of really, really funny people that write little reviews. So some of them are mean funny, some of them are positive funny, and they just say something hilarious about the movie. And I, there's some funny ones on Letterboxd if you want to look that up. But it's it doesn't. I thought it would bother me a lot more than it does to see negative ones. There's just sort of an acceptance that you make something, it's for a certain type of, it's for some people, it finds its audience, and like I said, I got that distance, and it's kind of just fun.
So how do you have any suggestions for someone who was like trying to not be so sensitive to reading
Oh
reviews
man, I
or,
don't know if
things that,
I don't know if my masochistic approach is the best one to just read everything and just yeah, if you can avoid it, you probably should. Um, I can't help myself but randomly get bored and
no,
Google it.
I don't know. I think honestly, I think it's good because, um, why do, why do you really care what people think? I mean,
Right.
about you personally. And as you've really touched upon some really important things, I think, is that, everyone has their own perspective, especially when you're watching a film, you go in with maybe a mindset of what you're expecting or what you like or dislike or whatever. You're going to bring that to the table. It's going to meet it or not. Uh, so,
Mhm.
so, so it's not really about you. And and even if they're saying it's about your acting, I mean, they don't know you as a person, so they really don't know how great of a actor you are. And
Mhm.
how much of that was acting and how much of it was real, Patrick.
Right. How much of it was that's just a hidden camera, me being me, man.
That was your grandmother asking that question. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, that's funny.
But
But it's very, yeah, I would just say as far as the act, you gotta pick something. It's just more important that you have a perspective and you go for it unapologetically. This is my take on this character.
I
I'm
like
going
it.
for I'm Nicolas Cage going for it. And however people respond, how they respond. And that will get the people that are for you, that are kind of on your frequency, that'll really draw them in. It'll also really, really quickly repel the people that were
Mm.
never going to like you anyway.
Oh, that's true
So
too.
it's very,
Yeah.
yeah, get, you're never making a movie for everybody. You're never making a piece of art for everybody, I don't think. Maybe that's a weird thing to say, but I don't,
No, I agree.
once in, once in a blue moon, you'll make those, like There Will Be Bloods, where like 98% of the population agrees that Daniel Day-Lewis is a genius and that's a great movie. But most movies, they hit their people, and one person loves it, another one hates it for maybe the same reason. And you just gotta dive in and go for it without apologizing, because people can sense that energy. If you like, oh, this, you had a perspective and you went for it. People appreciate that.
Yeah, I think I know that's true, actually,
Good.
because I get comments from this show about that. That's what the show is all about, really. I love
Yeah.
it. So I think it's a great time to wrap up.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I mean, for joining me on this
For
show.
having me. Thanks for being patient with my schedule. I appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. I wish you all the best, and I can't wait to, see your next movie. And if you ever have any openings on your entourage, I'm more than happy to join.
Yeah, come in, slide through on just got to get to that red carpet. Yeah, we'll see, man.
I'll
Yeah,
be,
John,
I'll be your man, whatever you need.
I know, I appreciate that, dude. I'll let you know. Hopefully, yeah, we should know soon. There's a sequel that's written, but as far as it getting funding and happening yet, we're not going to know for probably at least another 6 months. And there's other movies. I'm in a lot of short films that are going to be coming out, being filmed. And there's a few features on the table, and it's just going to take some time, a lot of negotiating, and it's a slow process. But there'll be more down the road, and I'll be obnoxious about it on social media. So
That's awesome. Love to have you back so you can give some
no, I'd love
updates.
to. Yeah, I'd love to come back on, my man.
That's perfect. Well, again, Patrick, thank you. And for everyone, Patrick was in A Bag of Lies. You can check it out on Prime, but I know it's also on Tubi as well.
It's on Prime and Tubi, both for free. Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty awesome. I think you'll like it. Or you won't.
Or you won't. There's a million different avenues to talk shit about me. So
And check out a Swift Kick in the Ass website. I've been trying to make changes to the website and keep adding things, new things every day. So keep going back and please add your comments. Let me know what you think of the show. And until the next time, this is John Curran, and with me is Patrick Taft. Peace.
peace out.
This marks the end of another episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass, placing it directly in the can. As much as I like to talk, even I have my limits. It's time to go. Catch me on the next show. For better or worse, whether you like us or not, please leave comments wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. Visit our home on the interweb. I think you can leave me a voicemail there. You can also email me at john@aswiftkickintheass.com. It's been my extreme pleasure. I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope you got your ass moving. Until then, until the next time, I'm out of here. Peace.